right, thank you, Tonya, for joining me here at Fit Moms Fit Kids Club. It's great to have you here. Tonya has a blog. She's written a book, and she's a health expert. So I've invited her here today to help us learn about whole foods and eating and what all this means. So can you first of all tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Sure. I do sort of a lot of things. Of course, first and foremost, I'm a mom. I have a 9-year-old son, and I'm also a nutrition professor, and I am a health educator. So I do a lot of education, nutrition classes in the community. I do cooking demonstrations in the community. So, I'm really passionate about helping people learn how to eat better. I also blog. My blog is titled Simply Eating Better, and it's really geared to help people in general, but particularly women, explore and embrace new and better foods.
Good. Now, you know that we have the A Better Me Challenge going on right now on our blog, and we talked a little bit, and you had a project that you just launched, and I was really excited about it because it really ties in with what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish at Fit Moms Fit Kids Club. So I wanted you to come on and share all about your Better Diet project.
Yeah, and exactly. I launched that at the beginning of the year on January the 1st. And it's really, it ties into the theme of my blog, and it's really to help expose women to some better foods and some new flavors, and just really help them develop a winning attitude about making a lifestyle change. So throughout the course of the year, I will introduce women to a variety of whole foods that are better for them, that will help them meet health challenges, such as diabetes and hypertension and high cholesterol. So over the course of the year, they will be introduced to 200 new or maybe, sort of not so common foods, and they'll learn the nutritional value of those foods, as well as some simple ways that they can incorporate those foods into everyday meals.
Good. So you're going to have some recipes for us?
Yes. Yeah, and I'll actually be posting one later today. So yeah, some good, and like I said, really just simple recipes that can easily be, included into our busy schedules. Because, as moms and women, I mean, we are just incredibly busy and just don't have the time to spend, hours and hours on end in the kitchen. So these are just really simple, kind of go-to recipes that I think women will enjoy.
Now, you talk about whole foods, and I know, that's a buzz term that's going on right now. A lot of people are talking about whole foods. They're talking about real food. And can you tell us a little bit, because everyone doesn't know, what exactly does that mean?
Exactly. And you're right. Whole foods, kind of is a buzzword right now. And what I really like to use is natural food. But, natural food isn't as common, sort of in the lingo right now. Whole foods are. But basically, whole foods, real food, natural food is just food that is, unprocessed or minimally processed, or basically as close to its natural state as possible. So, for example, applesauce really is, some of the processed applesauce that we get, with high fructose corn syrup and colorings and artificial flavorings in it, the orange applesauce as an example. But, that would be an example of a processed food, whereas, just an apple, just, washed and peeled and sliced is a whole food or a natural food. So, those foods that are as close to nature or as close to their original form as possible are the foods that women really should, and kids too, should be incorporating more so into their diets.
Now, how easy is it? A lot of times we do things out of convenience as moms, and they've made it so easy for us to go to the grocery store and pick up this and that, like you said, applesauce. Even though applesauce is pretty easy to make naturally at home. But we don't, I think a lot of times we don't know that. So, on your blog, what are you going to do to help us to learn? You said you're going to help us learn how to use those different products. So what kind of things can we expect?
And really, they're focused on simple tips. Those are things that I incorporate in my book as well. But, just simple tips. It takes all of, 2 or 3 minutes to wash an apple, peel an apple, and slice it up and make it available for yourself or for your kids. So when we think about convenience, learning how to prepare foods in their natural state really is simple and convenient. The good thing about natural or whole foods is that they taste wonderful, just by themselves. So they really don't need a lot of preparation or a lot of seasoning or a lot of flavoring. We really should just get back to enjoying the natural flavor of food.
Yeah, I think, and I agree. I think a lot of times we don't even know what that natural flavor looks like, tastes like.
Yeah, because it's masked by, if it's highly processed, it's masked by either high fructose corn syrup or salt or artificial flavorings. So we really have gotten away from just the taste of the real food. So back to my blog, I emphasize just eating food in its raw form, like I said, an apple, a banana, a pear, or orange, just eating it really in its raw form, or using simple cooking techniques like stir frying. Roasting, is very simple. Braising is very simple. And I really encourage one pot meals, because, all you got to do is just take all the stuff, throw it in a pot and let it simmer, and voila, you have dinner. And I also encourage women to prepare things ahead. So, for example, there are a lot of whole grains that we should be incorporating into our diets, such as quinoa and couscous, for example. Go ahead and cook up a big batch of those items and put them in the refrigerator, so at least your grain is ready. And then if you just have to prepare something to go along with it, that really cuts down on the time. Another example is oatmeal. Just this morning I cooked a big batch of steel cut oatmeal, and I probably can eat on that oatmeal probably 4 or 5 days. Cook it ahead of time. I don't encourage women to get in the kitchen and cook every single day. As many things as you can prepare ahead of time, the better.
And I noticed too that you said on your blog, you talked about having even beverages. What kind of beverages would be considered, whole food or natural?
Yeah, of course, water is best, and we've really gotten away from drinking just basic water, and what I've learned with my family, it's kind of whatever you put on the table is what they'll eat. So, if I fill up their glasses at dinner time with water, they drink it. If I fill it up with juice, they drink that too. So, really trying to drink water as many meals as possible is amazing how many calories you can consume just from beverages. And people really aren't aware, you drink a 16-ounce glass of juice, you can easily have 300 calories. So I encourage water. I do a lot of smoothies and juices, natural juices. If you have a juicer, just throw in a bunch of vegetables. I know we've talked about juicing. That's a really good natural beverage. And tea is also, a good beverage. And just use a natural sweetener like agave or honey versus white sugar if you're going to sweeten tea. But like I said, really water is the best. And then also something else I like are nut milks. So almond milk, is a good example. Also soy milk, that's a plant-based milk. That's also a really good option to, some of the high calorie, high sugary drinks that we sometimes, offer to ourselves and to our family.
Okay, one of the things that I wanted to ask you was, we talked about these good foods that we can have and incorporate into our diet. What's the connection between whole foods or natural foods and better health?
There's a huge connection. What I tell my students and people in my classes are, what you eat and what you do shapes who you are. It shapes who you become. So there's a huge connection. For anyone that's interested in, kind of seeing the research, there's a huge connection between the foods that we eat and our health. If we eat foods that are highly processed, they have a lot of sugar, a lot of salt, a lot of artificial preservatives, those things can manifest into poor health. So individuals with diets that are highly processed, tend to have more incidences of hypertension and high cholesterol, and and inflammatory diseases such as arthritis. So there is a huge difference. And then on the flip side, individuals that tend to eat more raw foods and more natural unprocessed foods tend to have lower blood pressures and normal blood glucoses and less inflammation. And also a huge benefit of eating whole foods or natural foods is that they are low in calories. Broccoli and cauliflower and legumes, don't have a lot of calories. So if you're reducing your calorie intake, you're also managing your weight, and just obesity alone, is a huge factor and has a huge correlation, with a number of the chronic diseases that we're facing in today's society.
Now, if I was just thinking about, all these different things that we eat, and I remember, the pure food pyramid that they're used to, we used to have, and now we have the choose my plate. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I really think my plate is great. I talk about that in my nutrition classes and just, sort of gauge what my students think about it. And most of them, really like having a visual. They thought my pyramid was a little too convoluted and too complicated. But, my plate is really simple. And as far as, what I believe in, I do take a simplistic approach to eating and preparing food. So to me, it's simple, and it really helps put into perspective, how much of our plate should be protein, because that's a huge misconception that, we need a lot of protein, and the only form of protein we can get is meat.
Can you talk about that a little bit more, about that misconception? Because I know a lot of, especially my mother, I'll call her out. When we try to eat more veggies and we have our vegetarian days, our meatless Mondays and things, she says things, those kids need their protein and so do you, and da da da. So can you talk a little bit about the protein and the misconception and where else you can get your protein?
Yeah, exactly. There's a huge misconception, as you say, that, we need a lot of protein in our diet. And then the second misconception is that, the only form of protein, or the best form of protein, is coming from meat. But actually, looking at it from a nutritional perspective, the largest portion of our daily calories should come from carbohydrates. 45 to 65% of our calories each day should come from carbs. Those carbs are, the natural, the whole form of carbs, the complex carbs. So, the fruits, the whole fruits, the vegetables, the grains. Those are the type of carbohydrates we need. When it comes to protein, we actually require the least amount of our calories. Like I said, 45 to 65% of calories should come from carbohydrates. 20 to 35% of our calories should actually come from fat, as compared to protein that should be 10 to 35%. So as you see, that minimum number, we actually need more fat, a minimum of 20% in our diet as compared to protein, which is 10%. So, we can get by on a lot less protein than we do. And, when it comes to, preparing our plate, protein and if you want to do meat should be used as a condiment. It should not be the largest portion of our plate. Our fruits, our vegetables, and our carbohydrates, should take up the largest portion of our plate. And when it comes to figuring out, what protein we can have, legumes, beans, lentils, excellent sources of quality protein. And then there are also a couple of grains, such as quinoa, that's an excellent source of protein. So, there are plenty of ways to meet your daily requirements for protein, and at the same time, boost your intake of beans and lentils and carbohydrates, as well as, some of the whole grains. So it's pretty easy to do, but, it really just takes a mindset change or mindset shift, and it takes us stepping outside of our comfort zone, to embrace, some different flavors, some different cuisines, to really, help make food interesting and help us meet our nutritional requirements.
Thank you for that. I think, that's great. And, you mentioned fat. That's another thing, and that's another misconception. We go out a lot of times and we want to lose weight maybe, and we get these low-fat items or non-fat items. What do you think about that? Is that good for us, bad for us, and what kind of fat should we be having?
Yeah, there are different types of fat. What we really should be getting in our diets, what they consider, good fats, those are the omega-3s, the omega-6s, and we get way more omega-6 than we really need in our diet.
What about the omega-3 and omega-6? Where do we get that?
Omega-3, you can get them from fish, fatty fish such as salmon, excellent source. And then also nuts are an excellent source of the good fats, that are actually heart healthy fats. But when you compare those to saturated fats and trans fats, that you would find in, fatty foods, such as, the fat portion of bacon, or, some of the high saturated fats in beef, those fats aren't as good for us. Trans fat is a man-made fat that comes from processing. So trans fats, are just detrimental to our health. And actually, if you notice, a lot of foods now ban trans fats. So, when I say they're man-made, you'll find them in processed foods, not just naturally occurring in foods. So if you get away from processed foods, fried foods, then you have no problem eliminating trans fat.
So fat is good fat.
Yeah, good fat, good fat.
Yeah, and I really wanted you to bring that point across, because a lot of times, we try to, minimize fat to the point where there's none in our diet, but we do, our body still needs fat.
Definitely so. Fat, it provides insulation for our bodies. It helps to regulate temperature. And also fat is an important component of our cell structure. So yeah, we definitely need fat.
Mm-hmm. Now, can you think of any other, just maybe one or two health promoting foods that maybe our moms can try this month, because we're doing this A Better Me challenge? Maybe challenge them to try something new that they haven't tried before. Do you have anything in particular?
Yeah, definitely. Because this month, what I'm also, rolling out with the Better Diet Project is focusing on beans and lentils, and not the canned ones. If you're in a pinch, canned beans will work, but they have a lot of sodium. Even if you get the low sodium forms, it still has some extra salt. So really encouraging moms to just go to the store, pick up that dollar bag of dried beans, and do like grandma did, pick them, as my grandma would say, pick out the bad ones, let them soak, and then throw them in a crock pot. So, really encouraging moms to explore a variety of beans this month, and then also to explore a variety of whole grains. So this month I'll be focusing on quinoa and couscous as whole grains for women to try. So they can start with those two.
I love quinoa. That was something that I put into our diets last year. My husband loves it. The kids love it. And, I'm going to take you up on your challenge, because I haven't done couscous yet. I've had it other places, but I've never made it myself.
It is so easy to make, and all you really do, you boil your liquid, whether you want to use vegetable broth or water or chicken broth, whatever you choose. Just boil your liquid, put in your seasonings, and when your water starts to boil, add the couscous, turn the heat off, put the lid on. Done. That's it.
Wow. Oh yeah, we're gonna have some couscous.
That's it.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to share with us while I have you here?
Yeah, just encouraging, women to, don't be discouraged, by any health challenges that they may be facing, and just realize that, food really should be our medicine, and that you can renew your health, you can reclaim your health, you can protect the health of your kids by, being diligent and being intentional about getting better foods into your diet. And I also encourage them to stop by Simply Eating Better and join my mailing list so they can become a part of the Better Diet Project and get weekly postings on simple foods, better foods, new flavors that they can incorporate into their diet this year. So that is at www.simplyeatingbetter.com.
Well, thank you so much. I'm definitely going to go by your blog and subscribe, because I want to know all those things. Like I've been missing out on couscous, and look how easy it is to prepare.
It is incredibly easy. Yeah, and do that. And I signed up for your Better Me challenge, and I'm enjoying the posting. So yeah, that's great.
Well, thank you. And Fit Moms Fit Kids Club readers, you go on over there and join her, and it's going to be great. It's going to be a great year.